Welcome to Just a Taste, a place to season your soul. Thank you for joining us at Just a Taste, where today we continue to look at What's Your Name? So, up until this point, Jacob had been prideful and arrogant. But here he came to a point where he didn't know what to do. And not until he was in trouble was he willing and able to say, I am unworthy. See, it is the specific conviction, I am unworthy, not a general realization that, well, nobody's perfect, that drives people to Jesus. See, we will never be converted unless we are convinced that we, as individuals, we're wretched and we are in need, that we're bankrupt. And whether or not God uses a tangible crisis to get us to this point, well, this is the real crisis to which we must come, a crisis of conviction. Have you ever come to it yourself? I mean, have you realized that apart from Christ, you are stuck like a stone in the mud? See, it's time to come to the end of ourselves. But why did God make Jacob wrestle all night? I mean, God could have ended the encounter any time he wanted. All he had to do was touch his hip, and Jacob was crippled for the rest of his life. And so the length of the bout, I mean, that wasn't because it was an even match. So why? Why then? Why did it take so long? Why did God allow Jacob to grapple for so long? And perhaps it was to see how badly Jacob really wanted the blessing of forgiveness and hope. Or was it to not say in a moment for Jacob to get to the end of himself? And in that sense, if you think about it, Jacob prevailed. I mean, here's a reminder that undergoing the great change, becoming a Christian, is not always quick or easy. It is not just a matter of repeating a prayer, making a decision, or filling out a visitor's card. True conversion often comes only after intense wrestling with God. A new identity in Jesus often comes only after a period of persistence. That part where Jacob says, I will not let you go unless you bless me. I mean, I can almost hear in his voice the desperation as he is now. He's not holding on to win, but Jacob is holding on for his very life. I mean, because had God just rendered Jacob lame and left Jacob in a state that revealed if Jacob didn't get a blessing, he was going to die? So what was it that changed Jacob? I mean, Jacob, he finally had come to the end of himself. He's in a mess and he can't control it. He's not sure what to do about it. And in the midst of his desperate situation, Jacob came face to face with God. The man then asked Jacob what his name was. I mean, do you find this question at this point at all odd? Well, I do. I mean, the man knew who he was wrestling with, didn't he? And if this God's agent, and that's what we believe it is through the text, shouldn't he already know the man's name without having to ask it? I mean, think of all that God could have said by way of reprimand or correction. But instead, he merely asks for Jacob's name. God's purpose in raising this question contains a lesson for all of us. It's too profound to ignore. In fact, it dramatically altered Old Testament history. In asking for the blessing from God, Jacob was compelled by God's question to relive the last time he had asked for a blessing. I mean, you remember the one that he stole from his brother. The last time Jacob was asked for his name, the question had come from his earthly father. Jacob had lied on that occasion, and he said, I am Esau. And then he stole the blessing. Now he found himself, after many wasted years of running through life, looking over his shoulder before an all-knowing, all-seeing Heavenly Father, once more seeking a blessing. And Jacob fully understood the reason and the indictment behind God's question, and he simply answered, My name is Jacob. And God replied, "You have spoken the truth. I mean, you know very well what your name signifies. You have been a duplicitous man, deceiving everyone everywhere you went. But now that you acknowledge the real you in your own strength, well, I can work with that, Jacob. I can change you, and I will make a great nation out of you." Just a Taste is a feature of Panem Ministries.